What is the cutest thing your significant other did for you? I've been waiting to tell this story. My husband and I took a trip to Seattle when we were dating. I love sleeping in, but he is an early bird. One morning, he wakes up and jumps in a shower while I sleep in. I hear the shower turn on, and instead of sleeping, I rush to get ready and quietly leave the room. I ran to get coffee for the both of us to surprise him when he got out of the shower. I'm on the street of our hotel, a coffee in each hand, when I see him walking from the other side of the block back toward the hotel entrance with the coffee in each hand as well. We both had tried to surprise one another with coffee. He had turned on the shower to better surprise me, and instead of the bathroom door locking, I had heard the hotel door click shut. We were equal distance from the entrance to the hotel, and both had a moment of confirming the situation. It seriously felt like a scene from a cheesy rom-com. Before we got married, and even before we dated, my wife and I worked together. I mentioned to her that I had enjoyed the homemade apple dumplings she made for a staff meeting carry in a few weeks prior. She was off work the next day, but she went to the grocery, bought all of the ingredients for the dumplings, and made a special batch just for me. She even brought them to me at work on her day off. I still have the dish. She brought them in. I'm a lucky guy. On the night he asked me to be his girlfriend, my significant other swooned me over by effortlessly cooking an amazing, romantic carbonara for me. A couple weeks later, I find random photos of the same carbonara on his phone from multiple dates, leading to the day my significant other asked me out. Turns out, my SO didn't know how to cook and had been practicing profusely for weeks just so he could impress me. His roommates later confessed to me that they had been eating carbonara for weeks to help him prepare. She hugs me around my belly when I cook breakfast. Something about her arms around me while I flip a pancake makes me so happy. She was driving around on a weekend and saw a garage sale where they were selling rusty old tools. She remembered I was currently into removing rust by electrolysis. I bored her to death explaining the process, so she bought me those old tools, really rusty old tools, for me to experiment. Considering how she hated to be around stuff like that, that was a sweet and cute thing for her to do. My hubby knows my favorite part of Christmas is opening gifts. I just love the sound of the paper ripping and finding out what is inside. So one Christmas, he decided he was going to wrap everything. If it was in my stocking, even, it was wrapped. But no, that wasn't enough. All the Kit Kats and other candy weren't just wrapped in the bag they came in. Instead, he opened the bags of mini candies and wrapped every damn one of those candies. I can't imagine how long he spent wrapping, but I still smile and chuckle when I think about him doing that for me. My husband and I have wildly different settings for our shower. He likes Power Blast, while I prefer a more gentle spray. I got in the shower the other day and thought about how I never had to switch it to my setting. I realized then that every time he takes a shower, he always switches it back to my favorite setting, so I'm not surprised by a blast of water. I have never done the same for him. Just moved to the United States from South Africa. Although it is not winter yet, it is very cold for me. Whenever I'm showering, significant other puts my pajamas or nightgown in the dryer for a few minutes to heat or warm it up. While driving, she carefully unwraps my sandwiches and then carefully rewraps them so that I can eat them while holding only the wrapper. She will also feed me fries one at a time. When I got totally trashed downtown one night hanging out with my friends, I called him to come get me, and he cycled to pick me up so I wouldn't have to leave my car downtown overnight. Not only that, but when he arrived, I was too drunk to direct him to the correct spot, so he used some sort of magical echolocation involving a siren to find me and my car. She said to me, "I love you," for the first time, while she looks like dying from her peanut allergy because she forgot to bring her allergy shots. And I'm just there panicking while waiting for the ambulance that I just called. He turns the heated seats on in the car for me before I get to the car on cold days. Such a small gesture, but it makes me smile like crazy every time. He doesn't even turn his own on. On cold mornings, when he goes to work early, he fills a hot water bottle and puts it in bed with me to keep me warm. When we first started dating, I started calling him Bumblebee due to something that happened on a trip we took. For Christmas that year, he went to 4 different malls to find a bumblebee charm necklace for me, so I would always have him next to me. When my husband and I first started dating, we were on a pre-dinner walk and happened to pass by a shoe store. I had been looking for a specific style of boots, and the perfect pair were in the window. I got super excited, but the store was closed. About a week later, I was having a rough day at work. I came home and the boots were waiting for me on the counter. He had taken a picture of the size of another pair of my shoes to show the girl working so he could get the sizing right. It's still one of the cutest things he's ever done. Every morning, my husband gets up first, which means he has the unenviable task of trying to wake me up. If I am in any way cold or chilly, he knows that I will burrow back into the duvet and attempt to hibernate. The coldest part of me is always my feet, so he started to carefully put socks on me every morning before waking me up. I can never fall asleep in socks, but now I wake up and he has carefully fitted me with the matching pair for that day. He also makes a point of picking out specific different designs each day, and sometimes will ask me if I liked his choice. 10/10 would husband again. Every time she eats French fries, she always offers me the last one. Been together since 2002. Usually if I'm grumpy or upset, he goes into position for attack, then scoops me up and throws me over his shoulder like a freaking sack of potatoes. Then, he pretend body slams me into the bed or couch and pins me down so I have to try to break free. We both do a lot of stupid, gross, cute crap. But this is my favorite by far. Cheers me up instantly. First year of marriage, hubby had to take a work trip. That first night after I got home from work, I found he had left little noted hidden in random places around the apartment. They each had a different phrase on it. Some were funny, some were sweet. It was a super cute gesture from a guy who is not normally a romantic type. On the phone that night, I told him I found the notes. He asked how many. Apparently there were 2 more that I couldn't find for a couple more days. It was fun trying to find them. His mom is an amazing baker, and he wanted me to try the cake she makes for his birthday. I couldn't make it to his birthday at home, so he asked her to make a miniature version that he could bring to my house. This guy brought me his own birthday cake, complete with writing and everything, just so he could share it with me. It didn't completely sink in how much he loved me. Oh, that completely selfless and sweet moment. As I was falling asleep one night, he took my face in his hands and told me all kinds of nice things about myself. All kinds of compliments and how much he loved me. I actually fell asleep in the middle of it, so I don't remember what was said, but I remember feeling so special and safe and warm and loved. Buckle up and prepare for some cavity-inducing cuteness. I had told him a few months ago about how I had always wanted to go on an actual family television-style picnic. You know, the woven basque, a blanket to sit on, lemonade to drink, all the works. I had begged my mum growing up to go on one, but she was a single mother raising me for most of my childhood. And here I was, 24 years old, and still had never had my picnic. About 2 weeks ago, he told me he was heading out for a haircut. I stayed home, cuddled in a heating blanket, and put on a movie while he was gone cause it was starting to rain, and I figured he'd be a while. He called me about 20 minutes later and told me to go in the bedroom because he pooped himself. Oh, okay, he is lactose intolerant and had just eaten ice cream the night before. That's pretty embarrassing. I made sure he was alright and went to wait in the bedroom. I heard the front door open and some rustling for about 5 minutes. Then he asks me to come out. He'd gone to the store and gotten a wicker basket and lemonade and food for a picnic and had laid out a blanket in the living room floor for an indoor picnic. Our cat even got to sit in on and enjoy this picnic with us since it was indoors. I think he had wanted it to be outside, but the rain was keeping us in. Sneaking the ring box out after we finished eating was the best part, though. She takes really great care of my dog. He used to send me 5-page texts telling me how he loves being part of my life, spending time with me, how happy I make him. Now, he just Snapchats me pics of him pooping. There's times where she takes a selfie on my phone camera with me sleeping in the background. Had a difficult day, tired from 12 hours on my feet and ready to burst. Came back to a hot bath filled with lavender-scented bath salt, candles all around the bathroom, a cold beer waiting for me next to it all, plus a bunch of flowers and my favorite candy bar. Almost cried. I freaking love my significant other. It was our first Christmas together. I was working overnights at the time and had to work Christmas Eve through Christmas morning. We had been talking about family traditions, and I mentioned in passing how stockings were my favorite part of Christmas morning. We had an open house at my house Christmas Eve, and when I got into my car exhausted, because I did not sleep that day, I saw that he had snuck one of my many stockings out of my house, filled it, and left it on my front seat to find. It made me smile heading into a crappy shift. Get up at 5:30 am every day for work, and I have a hard time waking up at that hour. So he wakes up with me and will cuddle me for a minute and tell me I'm amazing and I'm going to kick today's ass. I love him so much. I used to work in a sandwich shop where I had to close by myself. I would be alone for the last hour before the doors locked, and then however long it took me to finish up after close. We weren't officially together yet. Weren't even really dating. We were just hanging out and getting to know each other. Anyways, I would get really freaked out being in that building by myself with the doors unlocked. It was in a bad part of town and anyone could just walk right in. I expressed this to him, and he started coming and just sitting in the lobby doing homework and stuff and talking to me while I cleaned until I locked the doors. Then he would sit in his car while I finished up and then drive me home. It was the sweetest thing anyone has ever done for me. It still makes me smile when I think about it. We both have a cold. He stayed home from work today, but I had to go in for the afternoon for some meetings. While I was gone, he went to the store and made supper. When I got home, what he cooked was on the stove, hot and delicious and ready to eat, and I didn't want it cause I'm sick, and all I want is some broccoli cheese soup. And before I can say anything he says, "Babe, I know how you are when you're sick, so I made dinner, but I also just bought you a tub of fresh broccoli cheese soup, 'cause I knew that's all you'd want." He does things like that all the time. I'm the luckiest girl alive. The temperature has been dropping like crazy where we live, and my extremities are always cold. I freeze constantly even during warmer months, but obviously more so during fall or winter. My significant other, on the other hand, is perfectly warm and just the right cuddle temperature perennially. Although at times I'm too cold to handle. When he's in bed sometimes I like to tease him by putting my cold hands on his warm back or tummy and make him yelp. Well, last weekend, he was fast asleep in bed by the time I crawled in, carefully, trying not to wake him. He stirred anyway, and in his half-asleep state, gingerly touched my freezing feet with his. I thought it was by accident, and quickly moved my feet away lest he wake up from the cold, but he was actually checking to see how cold I was, and he moved closer and wrapped his legs around mine to start warming them up. Then, still half asleep, he reached out and grabbed my freezing hands and pulled me towards him and said, "Cuteness, so cold," and promptly fell asleep with his hands locked in mine. I was left grinning in the darkness like a Cheshire cat for a good 5 minutes and feeling like the luckiest, safest girl in the world. He truly is my everything. My significant other and I were good friends in high school, and at the time, he was an aspiring graphic designer who always designed and printed his own shirts and stuff. He printed a design on this one hoodie that was really super cool, and I asked him if he'd make one for me. He told me if I supplied a hoodie he'd be happy to. I never bought the hoodie for him to do it, but that one design always stuck out in my memory. We're 34 and have been dating for a little over 3 years now. This year for my birthday, I opened my present from him to find a perfect replica of his hoodie from high school. He'd found a zip disk with all his old designs saved on it, and had the hoodie made for me cause he remembered how much I loved it almost 20 years ago.